What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Vulnerable Reps podcast, where we have workouts and deep conversations. And on today's episode, we have Jeannine Coulter, who is the host of the Chasing Heroin podcast. She's a TED Talk speaker. She also trains people on how to find purpose in their pain by post-traumatic growth. She's in recovery. She's an amazing person. And today, we're gonna be talking about a heavy topic. See, she beat her addiction, but what is it like to be on the other side of addiction? See, she met the love of her life, they get married in sobriety, but then all of a sudden he relapses. And I know a lot of times we don't know if they're ever gonna get it right. So what is it like to navigate that? What is it like to accept that? What is it like to walk through that, to stay hopeful? Because guess what? What happens if they never get it right? So in this episode, guys, it's gonna be heavy, so stay tuned.
Hi.
Good to see you, Jeannine.
My friend.
Thank you for being here.
Sure, of course. Thanks for coming down, dude. I'm excited.
Of course. So for those who don't know you, what's like the 2-minute version of who you are?
The 2-minute version of who I am. So my name is Jeannine, and I often start out by saying I'm an addict in recovery because that is a huge part of who I am in a really good way. I used drugs for 15 years. The first 10 years felt manageable. The last 5 years, I was homeless. I got arrested 5 times. The last arrest was for strong arm robbery, and I was facing prison and a strike in California. And I spent the last 3 nights of my using in a doghouse, which I know you know the story. And after that, I got sober in 2015, and I've been sober ever since. For almost 11 years now, in January. Wow. And prior to all of that, I worked in fitness, and I was afraid that I would never be able to get back to fitness. That was one of the things that I was the most upset about when I was using, and I magically was able to get back into fitness. So as soon as I was able to start teaching again, I did, and was really involved in recovery and 12-step, met a man in a 12-step meeting. We got married. He and I were actually even able to buy our last studio that we owned, and we sold that in 2022. I still work in fitness. And I'm a wife and a pug mom and a fitness person.
I love that. And you did a TED Talk.
And I did a TED Talk.
Yes, don't forget that.
Yes, and I did a TED Talk in May. As a direct result of being a homeless heroin addict, I got to do a TED Talk. And I know one of your favorite things to talk about with me is post-traumatic growth, because you and I are so like on the same wavelength with that it is possible to turn these tragedies into triumphs. And as a direct result of being a homeless heroin addict, I was able to do a TED Talk with like a neuroscientist and a physicist, and I was able to hold stage with them as an addict, which is one of the reasons why I'm so happy about it. And I like to share that with people because I thought my addiction would be the end of me, but it was the beginning of me in a way I never even could have predicted.
I love that. Well, I'm excited to get into this.
Me too.
I've never cycled before.
You're gonna love it.
So before we get into this cycle session, let's go sit down, start the first conversation.
Awesome.
Go from there.
Okay, cool. So before we actually jump on the bike, I'm going to end up putting you in shoes.
Are they like
too.
cleats? They almost look like cleats.
Yeah, so they clip in. What size shoes you wear?
Well, I'm a 10. I don't know about cycle shoes.
Okay, men's is down here. It'll be the exact same. So we've only got half sizes. You want to try 9.5 or 10.5?
Let's do 10.5.
10.5?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to hand you these. And this is like our wall of fame area. People take 100 rides, 250 rides. How many have I done?
Yeah,
oh, Lord. I mean... You know how they say like 10,000 hours makes you an expert?
Yeah.
I actually feel like, this probably sounds egotistical, I feel like I recently passed the 10,000 hour mark.
Yeah.
Because I'm able, like in real time on the bike, able to know when the beat drop is coming, even if I've never heard the song before. So at least 10,000 hours worth, I think, yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
All right, Jeannine, so let me ask you this, kind of like run me through you getting sober and then kind of how you got up to, meeting your husband and getting married.
So, like I said in our little, when I first saw you, I spent the last 3 nights of my using in a doghouse. It was a shed that I was...
Like an actual doghouse?
No, it was like a shed, which I always say. His dog... He allowed the dog to go inside and let me stay in the shed for a few nights. It was my heroin dealer.
Right.
And he padlocked me in from the outside at night, but it was to make sure nobody got in there and got me. I was voluntarily in there. And I stayed there for 3 nights. And I say that because, for one thing, that wasn't even the lowest point of my addiction. That was not the most afraid I've ever been. That was not the worst of it, probably. But I had gone in and out so many times. I had tried so many times. I had zero belief that I would ever be able to get sober. And I was almost 35, right? I was like older than a lot of the people that we see around here in meetings. And I just felt like I'm never actually going to be able to do this. I mean, obviously, because I'm not doing it. And so I wasn't even thinking that I was going to end up having this amazing life with 10 years. I was just tired of being homeless. I was so tired of being homeless.
Because how long were you homeless for at this point?
So off and on for 5 years. I mean, after I got strung out on heroin, I never had another place. That's not true. I guess briefly for like 4 months, I had an apartment with my ex who was a veteran. And so through the Marine Corps, through a charity organization that helps Marines, we were able to get a place for 4 months. But other than that, I was either in a program or I was homeless, basically that entire time. And I was so tired of it by the end. And I was in this doghouse, and the last night, a friend of mine called me, and he was back in town. He was out at 29 Palms. He's a Marine, and said, "Hey, I'm back in town. You know, what are you doing?" He'd been in Afghanistan, I think. And I said, "I am living in a doghouse in Oceanside, and I think I'm gonna die." And he said, "Okay, that's it. If I come get you, will you come with me?" And this man had tried to help me before. I had stolen from him, like literally taken money from his wallet and jumped out once and ran away when he was trying to help me, like really crazy stuff. And he said, "If I come get you, will you come with me? No funny shit." And I said, "No funny shit, yes, I will come with you." And so he picked me up at the Burger King in Oceanside, right by the casino, right by Oceans. He met me in that parking lot, and he came and he got me and he drove me out to his house at 29 Palms. And I kicked heroin for the last time, basically cold turkey. I had one Suboxone that was like, had a bite taken out of it. I'd traded a friend some heroin for like a half-bit Suboxone, which addicts will understand. Of course, I had like a half-bit Suboxone and a cellophane, a cigarette cellophane. That was all I had to my name.
And for people who maybe never had an addiction, how would you describe what it's like to withdraw off a heroin cold turkey like that?
I mean, kicking heroin is brutal. Everybody describes it as having the flu. It is not like having the flu. It is way, way worse. It feels like your bones are being wrenched. And you know, like when people do that thing on your arm, like if you have a young sibling that's annoying, they do that stupid thing. It's like that, but on your bones all at the same time. And your legs hurt and you can't sleep. It's just a horrible, horrible feeling. And the second you do an opiate, it goes away. And so I think it's actually against every instinct of survival for a human being to be in that much physical pain, know there is a solution, and not do it anyways. Like that's actually anti-survival at that point. You know, your entire body is designed to survive. And it's like, I can't survive like this. You've got to go get heroin. And that becomes, you know, it's just what you simply have to do.
Sounds like torture.
It is, it is. I mean, the reason I used for so long, there are people that can manage being dope sick. Like my husband would be dope sick, you know, when he was younger, he could be dope sick for a few days. And I could never, ever, ever do that. I always made sure, as soon as I got a hold of $20 worth of heroin, I was already trying to get money for the next one. I was already worried about it. I was already rationing it. I would do tiny little shots. My whole existence was just about not being sick. Yes. So I had my half Suboxone, and I actually brought a little heroin and meth with me, which of course he didn't know. But I brought that with me. It lasted a few days, and I felt bad because he's seen me kick before, and I had dope with me. And I'm sitting on the couch, and he's like, "Wow, you're not as sick as normal." And I'm like, "Yeah,
I'm getting through it."
Yeah. And then on like the third day I was there, I was like, "Oh, Larry," and he was like, "Oh, you fucking bitch." Obviously, I brought something with me, you know. Yeah. And he also, like the fourth day I was there, he came home with shoes, with Skechers, and he said, "Here," and he threw them down, and I was like, "I don't need any shoes. Thank you, but I don't need shoes." And he said, "Well, you do, because you were wearing one shoe when I picked you up." And I was like, "Get the fuck out." No, I wasn't. And he was like, "Jeannine, you're wearing one shoe." And I ran to, he had this guest bedroom, and I ran to the guest bedroom, and I'm going through all my stuff, and sure enough, there's one shoe. Not only was it one shoe, Fausto, it was a high-heeled boot. Which means I walked from the doghouse to the Burger King like this, with one shoe on, without being aware of that. Isn't that insane?
Just imagine that visual, huh?
Yeah.
Someone going,
It was like a furry winter boot with a wedge heel. They were really cute. And I was like, but also, where's the fucking other one? It was in a garbage bag at a sober living I'd gotten kicked out of that I found later. But anyway, so he brings me Skechers. He had a fire going the whole time. I mean, he nursed me back to life. This
Yeah.
man, loved me. He's a very, very, very good friend still. And I missed teaching fitness so much. It makes my soul hurt right now to think about. I was sadder about that than just about anything else. Even family, anything. I was so sad that I thought I might never teach spin or bar again. And so every once in a while I would send out a resume on Craigslist because I had this great resume, right? I taught at the Beverly Hills Country Club, before I got strung out. And I would usually get a call. And of course I couldn't go, but it was just to see, can I still get a call?
Right.
And right before I got kicked out of the Last Sober Living to go to the doghouse, I was on Craigslist and somebody was hiring a spin and bar teacher in Encinitas. And I did my thing where I just sent out a resume knowing that I could never really go. And of course the person got back to me. And I don't know why this time I responded to set up an interview that I knew I was not going to go to. I didn't even have a car. I was riding a stolen Huffy bike around and I was living in Vista. I couldn't get there, you know what I mean?
With one fuzzy boot.
Yeah, exactly. Like showing up to teach.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Yeah. So we set up an audition and I was dating someone in drug court at the time that I had started seeing while I was using. And he took his recovery pretty seriously. He was active in drug court. And so he borrowed a friend's car and drove me to this audition. And I had an old mini iPod, no awareness of streaming. I was still buying music for 99 cents, right? And the last time I had taught was 2008, I think. And so, I had shoes with a giant hole in them, so I had to wear black socks so you couldn't see. And I went in and I met this girl, Jana, shook her hand, and then I taught from my mix. And afterwards she was like, oh, throwback vibes? Because it was 2015, it was a 2008 playlist.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what throwback meant. I'd never
Yeah.
heard Throwback Thursday.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know what that means. And she hired me on the spot. And 11 years later, where we sit is the studio that she and I run still. And I just slowly put my life back together. Someone gave me a car at 8 months. I was very far away from buying a car. I stayed in sober living for a year, which I'd never done before. And I hated it. Everybody hates it,
Yeah.
But I stayed.
Yeah.
And at a year, I found a place that I could afford in Encinitas, just living in a room in this really weird house. It was so weird. And the rent was $642, and it included toilet paper. It was so weird. But anyways, I move in there, and I'm still working at the studio, and my friend Jana allowed me to develop my own formats, my own modalities of teaching, and I really just kind of found my way again as an instructor. And I was seeing that guy in drug court, but he ended up relapsing. And he'd been calling his steps in. He had a roommate calling his steps in. There were little things that he was doing that were an indication that he wasn't all the way doing the work, And we split up, and right around that time, there was a guy in HA, and I had decided that I wasn't going to date anybody from HA, though I had that feeling. I didn't want to mess it up, as the years passed.
Right.
I couldn't believe I had 3 years. And I'm like, I'm not going to fuck this up. I don't want to, have sex with one of these guys, and then it's weird for me to come back,
Right.
so I'm not doing that. And so guys at HA knew that, I didn't date. Skylar has told me that now. I didn't know anybody, knew that. But he was like, no, people would say, oh, don't try to talk to Jeannine. She doesn't date HA guys. That was a thing, which is funny to me. I don't know how. I must have told somebody that.
You probably did one of your shares.
Yeah, I guess I must have said that to somebody because he said it was known that I had this weird policy.
Yeah.
So I remember the moment I was sitting in, and I want to include this too. So I'm 35, right? At this point, or no, 37 at this point because it's 2 years in. I'm about to be 37 years old, and I really wanted to get married. I never wanted kids, but I did really want to get married. And my biggest fear getting sober, I had two biggest fears. One was because of my credit score and my financial wreckage, that I would never be able to own a home, or, I owed the IRS a ton of money. I didn't even have a bank account for a long time. I couldn't. I would never be able to get established financially again, and as you know, that's a fear that has, stayed with me for a while, but that was my biggest fear. And then also, no one's going to marry me. I had hepatitis C also, and I was just, the marriage thing, I thought that I would never meet somebody that would actually want to marry me, And when I broke up with the guy in drug court, he did want to get married. And I had to make a really hard choice of I mean, I guess I could do that. I guess that could be the safety net I take. But I still had this little thread of needing to be true to myself, you know? And I'm glad I listened to that, because even though it was really scary to become single again at 37 years old, living in like a little room in Encinitas, you know, with all of my wreckage and being arrested, it was scary to do. But I broke up with him.
With toilet paper included though, right?
Toilet paper. Isn't that random? And $642. It was so weird. But anyways, so, and I remember I was sitting on my bed in that room, and I got a Facebook message, and it's the name, I was like, Schooler, you know, it's spelled all weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I opened it, and then I recognized him from the HA meeting. And I was like, oh, it's that guy. And I was really good friends with his roommate. His roommate, Stevie, we kind of ran some of HA together. And this guy was his very quiet roommate. And I thought he was like 23 or 24 also. And I look at it, and he was asking me about taking a bar class. And I was like, does this guy really want to take a bar class? And he claims to this day that he really was, yes, but I do not think that that's what he was fucking doing. So I answer him back, and like we kind of went back and forth a little bit, and like, you know, we friended each other on Facebook, obviously, and slowly over time, we started talking a little bit more, and he asked me out, and our first date was to go see the movie Get Out. Remember when that was out? That like spooky movie? Yeah, we went and saw that.
Yeah.
And he turned out to be older than I thought, thank God. I thought he was like 24. He was 29, so still quite a bit younger than me.
Not as young.
Yeah, our third date was his 30th birthday.
Okay.
And I took him out to dinner for his 30th birthday. And it's so cliche and weird to sound, but it's weird to say, but you hear people say like, they just knew. I kind of just knew that we were gonna get married. And about 2 months of dating, he invited me up to meet his parents. And we went up there, we drove up there, we had this great trip up to San Francisco. And I was sitting in, we hadn't been together that long. And we were sitting I was sitting in the kitchen, and there was a really pretty picture, an oil painting of a church on their wall. And I said the words, that's pretty, what is that? Asking his mom. And like, as I said the words, I also at the same time immediately knew, oh, that's where they got married, and that's where we're gonna get married. And it was so weird. And she said, oh, that's where Bruce and I got married. It's right over here. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember thinking, I knew that. That is where we got married. You've seen that picture, I'm sure, on my Instagram. It's like that really cute little white church. That is where we got married, you know? So that's how I met him, you know, and he moved in with me, and being so young, and his addiction it started a lot earlier than a lot of people. 16 years old. He had never really had a job. He didn't even have a bank account yet when I met him, but he had a year of sobriety, and he was sponsoring people, and he worked the steps, and that was really important to me. You know, he worked like an active 12-step program that I could see. And yeah, that's how we met, you know, and then we progressed through dating. And I was really concerned. I didn't think that we were gonna get married on my timeline because he was so much younger than me. But I remember kind of consciously putting that away. I had this thought that I am not going to turn 40 without being married. I'm not, okay? I didn't even think I'd be 30 without getting married. And then I would kind of tell myself, okay, but what does that mean? What are you gonna do? You're gonna break up with this man that you love for some random timeline that you've made up, some subjective timeline that is your own. You know what I mean? Like, no one told you have to get married at 40.
Yeah. No one's watching you saying, she's almost 40, guys.
You're saying that about yourself. You know what I mean? So you're gonna break up with this. And so I totally let it go. I totally let go the idea of getting engaged soon. And one day, I'd actually just started teaching here. I'd been teaching at this studio for about 2 months in 2018, and we lived right over here by that fountain. Skylar said, do you want to go get a yogurt right here? A frozen yogurt. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it was really hot, it was August. And I wanted to drive, which is so embarrassing. But we would normally drive. And he was like, no, let's walk today. And I was like, ugh. And I threw my phone down on the counter. I didn't even bring my phone. I was like kind of bratty about it. So we go get yogurt, and we're walking back, and he wants to sit by the fountain, which we've never done. And I was like, really? Like, okay. So I sit down next to him, we're eating our frozen yogurt, and he says, are you happy with our life? And I said, yes. And he said, if I ever had to move for work, would you move with me? And I said, do you have to move for work? Because by now he had gotten into construction and was, taking off in that field, which is what he's still in. And I said, yeah. Do you have to move for work? And he was like, no. And to this day, like, I don't know why this series of questions occurred to him to ask, but I said, do you have to move? And he was like, no, but you're happy with our life because I am too. And I said, okay. And then I got concerned. I was like, honey, are you okay? Are you like sick or something? And he was like, no, I just wanted to make sure that you're happy. And I was like, yeah, I'm really happy. And I remember kind of glancing off to the side. And when I look back, this motherfucker was on his knee with a ring. And he asked me to marry him. And I said, yes, are you serious? Oh my God, we'd only been together 18 months. And he was so young still. And I was like, yeah, yes. But I have given him shit for, and if and when you propose, you too, get somebody to take pictures. No one was there to like document this moment, except for one Mexican construction worker was sitting at the table.
That's right.
And I looked over eating a sandwich and I was like, I'm engaged. And he was like, cool, with his sandwich.
She's all, yeah?
He was like stoked for me. And I was like, yay! And he's the only witness, no pictures. But yeah, so that's how we got engaged. And we did get married at that church. One of the first things he said was, his dad was real sick. And he said, my family would appreciate it if we got married up there. And I said, yeah, okay, that's fine. And so we just got to work planning and we got married 9 months later.
So 18 months he proposes. So 9 months after, so you guys are together for almost 3 years, right then?
No, just over 2 years when we got married.
So just over 2 years you get married. Okay,
Yeah.
so you get married there, all right.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that. Let's stop right there.
Okay.
You get married. We're gonna go into the cycle session.
Okay.
And go from there.
Awesome. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You ready to spin?
I think I am ready.
Okay, cool.
So what do I do? I put these shoes on?
Put your shoes on. Yep. Okay, so before we do anything, keep the legs moving. I want you to give yourself 3 full turns to the right on that gear knob.
What's a full turn look like?
360. 1, 2, 3. Perfect, good. And then make your way to about 90 RPM. And we're gonna find it on the same leg. So I want you to be on your right foot lead. So we're right, left, right. Hear it? Move, bitch, get out the way. Hear it? So we're dancing to the music, right? Right, left, right. Now I want a little push of speed here, run a little faster. Now you can go faster than the song. So cycle bar is designed around intervals. So we're gonna go faster sometimes, and we're gonna add extra gear sometimes.
Okay.
So the goal right here is to get the body warm. This is the opening song.
Okay.
We're gonna fall back, find tempo. 4, 3, 2, find rhythm again, drop in.
So you're slowing down?
So we're right, left, right. Bam, bam, that's it. So once you feel that, arms go out. You're gonna keep your butt back over the saddle, bring it up out of the saddle. Good.
And RPM
so
is
you're
about
way
what?
faster. So give me a quarter right. Slow yourself down, add a little gear. Good. So that second number down should be about 7.5.
Okay.
So stay with me, look in the mirror. Bam, bam, bam. Right. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we're gonna do something called an elbow drop, okay? So matching with one of your feet, the elbows drop straight down like this. Drop. That's it, you're actually really good at this. Ah! Bam! Yes! Fuck yeah! That's it!
I can see how
Drop
this is
it down.
fun.
And again, we're gonna wait for the new tempo to come in.
My legs.
You'll hear it in a second. Hear it?
Yeah.
That right, left. Yeah, that's it! Bam! Okay, so it's gonna fall to mid-60s. That's it! Good, how do you feel? Are we good?
I feel great.
Okay.
My legs are on fire, I
and
love it.
you can hear the music
Yeah.
and everything? Okay, good. All right, so we're gonna do something called a travel back. So all I'm gonna do, while holding the rhythm, is move my booty a little closer to that back wall. We go back, up, back, up, back. So one pedal stroke takes you back, back. That's it! Yes! You're like really good at spin. It's weird.
That's weird.
Back. I should turn the air on before we got on the bikes.
Oh, it's all good.
Take it back. Make sure that butt is all the way back. Ideally, the knees are 2 inches behind the resistance knob all the time.
Okay.
And this is really hard for men because all of your strength is in the chest, right? So men want to be out here. Women, we've got it in the hips. So it's a little easier for us to stay back. Fausto, take a seat. Take your time. I should turn the air on, huh? Sorry.
I know, I like it like
I'll turn it on
this.
before the bar. Okay.
I like it like this.
And then you do a little hair flip going. It's so fun. Okay. Isn't it fun now?
Yeah. Well,
okay. So, we're going to sit down on the next song.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to do jumps.
Okay.
All that means is the body is going to go straight up. You can watch me. Looks like this. 8. So no weight in the hands. Down. So we're still holding the rhythm. Yeah. Come back down. And we just do them in sets of 8 or 4. So we'll catch it on the next beat drop. We go straight up for 4. In 4, 3, 2. Up 4, 3, 2. Sit. Bam. Yeah! Up 4, 3, 2. Yes. Again. 4, 3, 2. Ah! One more. Ah! Stay here. Give me a push of speed. Run.
Standing up or
110.
down?
No, sitting down.
Okay.
Just past tempo. You should find a spin studio up there. 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. 1, 2. Last time.
2, 3, 4.
Stay here. Push your speed. Run. Good. Past tempo. Perfect. So like 112, 115. Usually what I ask for here is to get breathless. Which you are, right? Kinda. Okay. Tempo. Fall back. Bam, 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 bam. So we're right, 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 left, right. It's like high 80s. Good. Holding your tempo. Hands out. Keep the booty back. Rise up. If you can. Bam. Hips back, hands light. On the drop, elbows down. Ha. Yes. Now wide elbows. Looks like this. It's like a push-up. Now down again. Down. Keep it. Make it a little bit smaller. Make it a little bit smaller. There you go. Wide. Make it a little smaller. Yes. Now 2s. 2 down. 2 wide. 2 down. 2 wide. Good. Nice and small. Down. Down. Like barely bending. Down. Back down. You done? Give me a high five. Nice job, man. Watch me shake it, baby. Watch me shake it, baby. All right, that's it. Boom. This is very graceful. How you feel, man? You did good. It's fun, right?
I can't bounce on these shoes.
All right.
Can't bounce. Fall. All right. Well, that was fun.
We good?
That was good.
You did really well, man. For real. You did really good. It's very difficult for people to like, the first thing I had you do was drop the elbows.
Yeah.
It's really hard for people to do that because they don't sync it to one foot, and you just automatically did.
Yeah.
Usually people kind of fight through the pedal strokes
yeah.
and it throws them off, but you dropped it like right on the rhythm. That was good. You did great.
Yeah, I think
It was fun, right?
Oh no, it was fun. It was great. Yeah, I think it's because I jump rope. You know,
Oh, right, yeah.
really-
That's, and you have to know the rhythm for that. You have to be up, up, yeah.
It's knowing movements. If I move my head this way, I'm able to swing better this way.
Totally.
So it's kind of just
Yeah.
knowing move and letting the body bounce. So you kind of understand that. So you just got to feel it and you're like, okay, there it is. Okay.
You did well.
Thank you. All right, so where we left off was you get married.
Got married,
right?
yeah.
You get married. You're about 2.5, a little over 2 years together now. You're married. You get married at the same place his parents got married, and that painting that you saw, right, it manifested. So now run me through his really bad relapse was in 2021 or
22.
22. Okay. So run me through, so you get married.
We get married in 2019.
2019, and then run me from that up to this giant relapse, and run me through that relapse.
So literally like the moment we get back from our honeymoon, which was also the last season of Game of Thrones, we get back within a matter of weeks, the owner of that studio, who is the woman that I still work with now, wanted to sell like quickly for a variety of their own reasons. And came to me, it was sort of like the natural person to succeed her. And we were able to get a loan from his parents, which was great. And we bought the studio. So within like 3 months of us getting married, we now also owned the studio, which was definitely a stressor. I completely rebranded it. It had been called Psychology, like CYC, Psychology. And I rebranded it because a lot of what we did is like what you and I are doing today, which is the half spin, half strength, or half something else.
Yeah.
And so I rebranded it as Studio Cybrid, Cycle Hybrid classes. And I had this like beautiful Phoenix logo, and the website was amazing. I hired like the best instructors. It was like the most beautiful light in the lobby. I literally feel like the lobby of that studio was painted with like my soul, you know? And we made this amazing spot. And 6 months later, COVID happened, right? And COVID out here, as I'm sure you remember, was really, really, really strict. And that part sucked. But, you know, there was like a lot of panic and stuff at the beginning, obviously. But immediately, like the first week that we shut down, we had 34 bikes. Skylar got a, big U-Haul truck, and we delivered 34 bikes to people. We started doing classes online. And remember, there was that first 3-month period where we were like just at home, right?
Yeah.
And then they let us out for a month and then reclosed. But fitness could be outside. So, and there was a giant parking lot down at the end of the, like the strip mall where we were. My husband, like with his hands, this is something that is so incredible about him. He completely renovated the studio. Like I still have all the before and after videos, and he built a spin studio. We put the bikes outside, we put down turf, and put up a TRX structure outside that had like a cover on it. We put Christmas lights on the inside.
That's cool.
It was really beautiful. We'd like roll the bikes out, and at night turn the Christmas lights on. And it was a very, very special spot for me, my staff, and the clients. And while we did that, while we were outdoors, we had time to swap the rooms. So Skylar built the most beautiful spin room and built the most beautiful bar room. And by the time we were able to go back in, the rooms were switched, which was great. So what that also did was that doubled the valuation of the studio. So in that period, because we wanted to ultimately sell, and then after this, we decided we really want to sell. And, we were both struggling, right? Like I didn't relapse, but I hated that time. I was panicked every fucking day.
Why?
Because I didn't know what was going on with the business. People like told on us, for
bringing outside people. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It was just a really costly time. Skylar was really stressed out. His dad also died during that time. So, and we weren't getting up to San Francisco very often because we had to be here for the studio. We had to be here. And the studio, that had been such a beautiful relationship for me in the beginning. I mean, it's what kept me sober. You know how like you can get to a place where something that was very nourishing for you becomes toxic because it takes over too much. And I had developed a toxic relationship with the studio and how much I depended on it. It ruled my life. And now when I look back, I think it was sort of like that addict obsession.
It like became your higher power almost.
I was obsessed with the studio.
It became your foundation. Like this is my higher power.
Yes, it was more important to me than anything. It was more important to me than anything. It ruled my life, it ruled my marriage. And looking back, I think Skylar, we've worked through this now, but he was a little resentful that, his dad was dying and we didn't get up there as often as he would have liked to. We still got up there. He went up at least once every 3 months for a couple of years, which is like more than the average adult, child of a parent gets to see somebody, for me. But like the family definitely wanted him up there more, and then he did, he did pass away. He did die. And Skylar was already struggling when that happened. He hated the fucking studio by the end. He felt the staff was taking advantage of me. He hated how much it ruled my life. and we had to get out. It was like ruin. It was going to just like destroy us, you know. But it was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life was listing that studio. And during that time, he got recruited. So he also completed school, and I'm just so proud of him for all of these things. As his dad was dying, he got his journeyman's card, his journeyman carpenter card, and he's doing well at work. And he got recruited to be an assistant superintendent at a massive construction company, starting like in the six figures, massive bonuses. They waived the need for a college degree in lieu of his experience. I mean, it was amazing. Like, it was going to be the best opportunity of all time. So we were out of the studio. He gets this amazing job. And unbeknownst to me, he had started using again. And he had been at that job for, I don't know, 2 weeks or something. And I had a feeling he was using. And I went in his phone, and I could tell he was using. And I woke him up in the middle of the night, and he had just started at that job. And the job was got through a guy that's like a mentor in his life, or was. And woke him up, screaming at him, and he's like, of course I'm not, you know, all the bullshit lies, whatever. He'd been looking at the times to cross the border. And he said, sometimes I just look still. And I'm like desperately wanting to believe him. And I said, you're gonna lose this fucking job. You're gonna lose this amazing opportunity. And he was like, no, I'm not. And, you know, he continued using. It just got worse and worse and worse. And all of our money, you know, we made money from the studio. And I did, within a few months of that happening, I pulled all of it out and I put it in a separate account. But I made the choice to continue to use it to like pay our rent and stuff so that we could stay in the house. And we had this puppy, and I've never had a dog before, and Tank was insane. He's chewing everything, he's fucking wild. And I mean, our lives just completely disintegrated. And at the same time, all of my studio friends quit talking to me at that time. So I felt very alone.
And how bad was his addiction getting at this point?
Oh my God, it was a fucking nightmare.
So,
it was horrible. It was horrible. He was going to Mexico every single day, which also I was panicked about, right? He's going to Mexico every day. I'm hiding his passport. He's going anyways. At any point in time, he could get pulled into secondary. He's leaving work. I know he's gonna get fired. And the thing that was the most insane, I think, was I have never experienced such dishonesty in my life. And obviously I've been the addict lying to people, and it always feels like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's not that big of a fucking deal. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not hurting them.
It's not that big
whatever.
of a deal.
Like,
right.
Yeah, right.
You know, and like, I didn't have a lot of empathy for, I mean, I kind of did, but like my poor mother, you know, oh, she's so upset I'm used. I wanted to be like, you are the one that lives inside. I'm out here. This is way worse for me. And like I was telling you off camera, I was wrong. It is way worse to be the sober person.
And why is that? Like, what is it that you learned from that lesson being on the other side, right? You know what it's like to go through it yourself, right? Like you said, now you're the love of your life. You know, like, what's it? How would you explain to somebody when someone's like, how's it different? How's it worse?
The dishonesty starts to make you feel crazy. Because I thought maybe sometimes he was telling me the truth. And then I would even feel guilty about getting mad at him. And then you're also faced with this dilemma of, because he'd relapsed a couple other times too, and had for very brief periods. And so there's this dilemma of, he might get it back together. Do I leave? And everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah,
and most people are tired of hearing about it.
I was gonna say, you know, I always have this philosophy that the best advice you could give someone for their relationship is give them no advice at all.
Right.
Because if they listen and it doesn't work out, they're gonna blame you.
Right. Yeah.
So for you, was that a lot of like, we're hearing a lot of like, you gotta leave them, you gotta stay, you gotta leave them, you gotta pray on it. You know what? No. Like, what was kind of the dialogue that was going through your head? So
I was pretty choosy about who I shared this with, and I think I'm lucky. I have a lot of compassionate people in my life. Now, that group of friends that quit talking to me, I also think part of it was that, because they had dealt with me dealing with him relapsing in the past, and they were over it, which when I look back, I kind of think, fuck you. Fuck you. But my mom is very compassionate. My dad is very compassionate. I'm very lucky. They're really well-educated, well-versed in addiction. They've gone to a lot of Al-Anon. And so none of them ever said I should leave. My sponsor didn't necessarily say I should leave, right? They would just let me talk it out. Nate, Nate didn't say I should leave, right? So I didn't get that a lot. A couple of people did, but I would stop talking to them about it because no part of me wanted to get out of that marriage. And a huge part of it was, and this is like the stuff that started to come up for me, that whole, got clean, broke up with that guy, I'm 37, I'm fucking old, I'm not married, whatever. So much of my ego and my self-worth was tied in being married. Like there was such a huge part of me that when we got engaged and we got married, I was like, I did it. I got my life back. This is how you win. I did it. I got married. And that was all of my self-worth. It was a lot of it. And I had to be really honest about that, and say like, I guess maybe I'm not going to be married anymore. I guess I go back to all those fears. When do I fucking date again? Where? You know what I mean? Like I'm going to go back to an NA meeting, I guess, And so what I started doing, because he disintegrated more and more and more and more and more, and he eventually did get fired. And what I will say is, for a large part of that, he was still getting a paycheck fucking somehow. He was still going to work for like 9 months. So he was also supporting us. The cars are in his name. And then I was also mad at myself because I'm like, when did you become a 1950s fucking housewife where nothing is in your name? How did you let this happen? I'm me. You know how I am. You know what I mean? Like, how did that happen? But it did. Nothing was in my name. I've got terrible credit. The lease, everything's in his name. What am I getting? Tank is in his name, And he's paying for everything. And he was such an asshole at the time. He wouldn't have left. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to keep one of the cars and then him say I had stolen it or something. And he was paying for everything. And so I'm like, what do I do? But he was going to Mexico every day. It was a nightmare when he would get home, but I didn't want to kick him out because he was still paying for everything. Plus I technically didn't even own a car at that point. I just really didn't know what to do. And then he finally got fired. He went to this bougie treatment center that did nothing for him, nothing. And he got out, went to a sober living that was crazy expensive, but now he was at least out of the house, which was good. So he's out of the house. It's clear he's probably not going to get sober, which was heartbreaking.
How was that like when you were kind of getting to that point? Like, how do you process that? What does that look like?
So I really didn't want to believe that. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, you need to put your money where your mouth is. All you do in that room when you teach spin is tell people that their past difficulties are how they're going to get through this moment, that they already have the evidence of their personal strength and resilience in the rear view. We have all gotten through so many hard things. You can do this, right? I say that all the time. It looks like you're going to have to test your fucking theory one more time. And I remember thinking, wow, I really thought that the hard thing was going to be my addiction. I guess it's not. I guess it's going to be being single at 44. Okay. And I remember thinking, what will you say about this later? Because the only way I got through my heroin addiction is by being able to say later all the good that came out of it, which was a lot, right? So much more grateful. It got me here. All of those wellness tools, right, that I was employing without even thinking about it at the studio, that's all from having had been a heroin addict, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all the good things in my life came as a result of being an addict. So what will I say about this? How do I make this good? Okay, well, I can say that I had to get my own credit better. I had to stand on my own 2 feet. I've been way too financially dependent on this man, obviously, right? And so I applied for I think it's a Discover card that you put money on and you can get one. Yep. I got it. And I hadn't been able to get one before, but this one, I think it's Discovered. That's the one that you can get. I heard it advertised on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I think I got a Capital One for me.
Yeah, so, yeah. And I couldn't get that. I couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
I had tried before, but I heard this one advertised and I was on my phone one night and I was like, fuck, I'll just try it. And I got it. So like I got that and I just kept thinking, what are all the things that you would look back and say? And then I just consciously made them true in the moment, And then I started thinking about, because I remember talking to my sponsor, because Skylar is also, he's like a catch, right? Like, he's good looking, he's fit, he now does well financially. He didn't when I met him, but he does now. And he's a really good husband. Like, he does, like, all of my friends have always been jealous about how he takes care of everything. He would do anything for me. Like, he's a catch. And I remember telling my sponsor, I'm not gonna meet somebody better than him. Like, I'm not. And she said, you don't fucking know that. You could meet a millionaire, some like rich guy with a private jet tomorrow. You don't know that. And I thought, she's right. I don't know that. Okay, and then I kind of changed my view, and I was like, what does it look like if I'm single? And like, you know, I've got all these like different like guys that I know in our industry and stuff. And like some of them I can tell they kind of crush me and stuff. I'm like, dude, people still like me. You know what I mean? Like people still like me here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not fucking, I'm not an old maid yet.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking like, okay, what would I want more than him or better than him or different than him? You know what I mean? Because like no one's perfect.
Right.
And I'm like, I'd love someone that talked to me a little bit more, you know? And like, so I start, because he's not a very talkative guy, you know? And so like I started looking at the good things that could happen from me dating someone else. And I feel like now I hate saying that because we're married and like it sounds like a betrayal. But like I really started thinking about being single and dating someone else, you know? And I'm like, all right, I guess I could do that. And then I totally let go. And then at this point, he had also disappeared into Mexico. So at some point he left sober living and he just disappeared and he was missing.
For how long?
6 weeks, 7 weeks. Sold his phone. No one knew where he was. I had to tell his family he was missing. And I talked to a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and I said, how do I serve a missing person divorce papers? And he said, I don't know, but we'll figure it out, you know? And so I put a room for rent. I was like, I guess I try to get a roommate. I don't know. Tank is insane. Tank is a nightmare. No one is gonna wanna live with this dog, you know? Seriously, he's crazy. Well, I was letting him pee and poop on the deck, which I knew was gross. So I trained him to not do that anymore and listed the room for rent. He's missing. I finally started telling people. I made an episode about it, a podcast. I hadn't even said on the podcast, you know? And I made an episode where I was like, all right, so this is an episode I never wanted to record. I think my marriage is over. This man that you guys have heard me talk about for so long that I love, like I think it's done, you know? And that sucks. But I'm getting through it by this and the things I just told you. I made an episode and I was sitting in the front of this studio with my friend Jana, who I've known for a million years. And I got a call from a number in Mexico. It was September 1st, 2023. And obviously I knew it was him. And I was like, this motherfucker. So I answered the phone. I'm like, hey. And he was like, hey. And he wanted me to cash app him $50. And I believed in my heart that I would never see him again, probably, you know? And this is a story I've told on the podcast before too, where I didn't really know what to do. And I called Nate and I said, I know I shouldn't give him any money. And Nate said, no. You have to do what you can live with. Like, what can you live with? And I couldn't live with leaving him down there sick. I've been dope sick and homeless. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. The car was out of gas. He's deathly ill. And that's when Narcan Nate was like, man, that motherfucker's dehydrated. He needs some water. And she's like, at least send him $1 to get a Gatorade. And I'm like, God, you're right. He's probably so dehydrated. So somehow he called me back and I said, if I send you money, will you go to detox? And I knew he wasn't gonna go. But he said, yeah, if you send me money, I swear to you, I will get up there and I will go to detox. And I was like, okay. Because I wouldn't have done that, right? So I cash apped him. I didn't give him 50, I gave him 40. And I remember getting off the phone and I said, I'm never gonna see him again. Like, he's gonna die down there, you know? And I went home and at like 7 o'clock that night, I got a phone call from a 760 number that I didn't know, and I answered. And it was him down the street at a gas station. He had made his way back across the border without a passport, got some gas, got back, and had run out of gas right down the street and came back. And I was like, okay. And so I drove down there to see him, and I was done. Like, we were gonna split up. And I drove down, and he like jumped in the car. I wasn't gonna bring him back to the house. But he jumped in the car, and I looked at him, and he had like an open wound on his neck. And while I was looking at him, an ant crawled out of it. Yeah. And his hair was crazy. And he was like bone thin and like dirty. And he jumped in the car and was like, go, go, go. And I drove, and I was like, what? And he rolled the window down. We drove by some restaurant, and he was like, I fucking see you. He was like in a meth psychosis. Okay. And he thought, it's a long story. He thought his ex-girlfriend was having him followed. It was crazy. And he's like, I fucking see. And I was like, roll up that window. So and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he was like, I got followed. The CIA dismantled the car. Of course. It won't start. They put a tracker on it. Bullshit. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. So I did bring him back to the house. Yeah. And, he stays downstairs, and I slept with the car keys in my bra, laptop, everything's with me upstairs, and I locked the door, brought Tank with me, and actually I think Tank stayed downstairs with him, but he never would have risked Tank in any way, In fact, I've got pictures of Tank during that detox just on his head. It's the saddest thing. He's just laying on his chest staring at him. And I told him, I was like, all right, well, you're gonna go to detox, you're not staying with me. And so we started trying to get him into detox, and this is the issue you run into in recovery. It's really, really hard to get into treatment when you don't have insurance or money, And so we couldn't get him into a detox, right? He was on a wait list for all these places. We were calling every day, and eventually 3 weeks passed, and he's just still dead ass sick on the floor. He hasn't tried any stupid shit. He hasn't left. He hasn't taken anything. He's just dead, and so depressed and down. And after 3 weeks, I was like, all right, you're basically detoxed now, And this is so crazy. He had won this contest as a carpenter a couple of years prior, a big thing in Texas. And the people that run that contest wanted to hire him for something, and they were looking for him, and searching his name found my podcast episode about him relapsing. And the lady emailed me and said, I just heard your episode. Is he back? We want to hire him, and we'll work with his schedule so that he can go to meetings and stuff. They reached out to me. It was the craziest miracle ever. So he was able to get that job, and his brain was not right. His brain was not functional. He was in extreme psychosis for months. That long? Months. 4 months, 5 months. A very long time. Tank got a bunch of vaccines in one day and had a horrible reaction. And I was racing him, he almost died, and I was racing him to the vet. And Skylar called me, and he was like, hey, what does your ex look like? The one I did all that using with? And I said, why? And he was like, and he's been on the run from the state of California since 2012. That motherfucker gone. And I said, why? And he was like, I think he was following me earlier. I think him and the vet poisoned Tank. He had 4 months clean when he said that shit to me. And I called my mom, and my mom was like, he is having a psychotic emergency. You need to bring him to the doctor. And so I finally fucking did. We brought him to the doctor. Oh, shit. Yeah. And he got on some medication, and he's completely fine now. But it lasted a long time. That's scary. I know. That's scary. I know. It was crazy. I've never seen that shit happen that long into sobriety. Yeah. 5 months, 6 months. Right. It's crazy. Yeah. So anyways, at some point I decided to stay together again. Because the whole time he was downstairs, I was like, no, we're separated though. You know what I mean? I made a plan to be single, And God knows what he's been fucking doing. Right. Although I know my husband. Nobody is interested in him when he's using. He's not cheating on bugs crawling at his neck. Fuck no, dude. Fuck no. Also, he's very shy. He barely asks me out. Yeah. He's not out there fucking running game on girls, even when he's sober. Definitely not with ants crawling out of his fucking skin, So I wasn't worried about that at all. But after a few months, and he started going to meetings, and I had I had a couple of things that he had to do though, right? Which was, so I decided, okay, if we're going to work on the marriage, this is what has to happen. Well, let's stop right there. Okay. I think that'll be perfect. Okay. Right? Yeah, because we got to do the other part. Yeah. So before we go into that part, what we'll do, because I think that'll be perfect for the last part, right, is we'll get the next part of the workout done, and then, I want to walk through that, because right now it's, you're right. You get sober, you get married, right? You got what you wanted, right? Because everyone's saying she better get married before 40, right? You got what you wanted,
And then you see now, basically, you have this year, or these years, you know, this tough season, right? And like you said, it was hell. I mean, disappearing to Mexico, that's crazy. I'm gonna go down the street and find my dealer right there. I ain't gonna go to a different country.
I know.
Back and forth to the point of disappearing, finding this place of like, I guess I gotta get ready what it's like to be single again.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, but he's in psychosis for 4 months, right? Because your ex is following him, which might be true,
no,
right?
Definitely
might be true.
I was like,
his ex and your ex had the bet.
I was like, if my ex was gonna fucking poison anybody, it would be me, not the dog. He loves animals. I was like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, if I'm gonna meet you somehow with logic, you actually wouldn't hurt Tank. Don't worry. He'd just kill me.
So you can imagine, right? You know what that's like behind the scenes, right? How stressful, and it's just a lot of chaos. And at this point, like you said, right, he's downstairs. You're like, your mindset is, we're not getting back, right? But now you have this, okay.
Now he's back.
Right, and but, and we're gonna go into it, but this has to be done. So we'll go into at the end part, because I want to know that, right? Because a lot of people don't realize, like, you can have a breakup or whatever, and if you're gonna make it work, usually it takes two people to make it work.
Yes.
You have what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then they have what they need to do.
Yes.
Right? And both sides look different.
Yes.
But if they're not done,
then
it's not guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll go into that for the last part. So for this part now, let's get into the, what's it called?
Bar.
It's just called bar?
Like a ballet bar, B-A-R-R-E. So bar,
B-A-R-R-E?
Mm-hmm. Like a ballet bar.
Bear.
No, bar. B-A-R-R-E. Not a bar that you sit at and drink. Bar, B-A-R-R-E. It's like the ballet bar that you see people hold. That thing is called a bar.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
Do I have to take these shoes off now?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna take mine off too, actually. Bar is very similar to Pilates. It's like standing Pilates. So I'm gonna have you stand here, but face the mirror. I need you to be able to see yourself in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm gonna stand next to you. So, heels are touching, turn your toes out, scoot that way a little bit. We just need a little bit more arm room. Good. So your heels are touching, toes are open. It's called first position. And then I want you to bend your knees like this. This is the first position demi-plie. Arm is through the band. And then just hold the bar like this.
So, hold on.
So the band is around the wrists. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So the elbows are kind of tucked into the ribs, right? And we're gonna start pretty slow. Relax your grip around the bar too. And we're gonna start pretty slow, just reaching out for the mirror about like rib cage height. So we go out for 2 and back for 2. And out for 2. And there's a rhythm to bar also. So you can hear the music, right?
So why do you call this Pilates? I thought Pilates is
It's not, it's bar.
It's bar, okay.
Out for 2. It's similar to Pilates.
Oh, that's what you said,
and back
okay.
for 2.
I see what you mean, okay.
And out for 2. But you would do this in Pilates potentially, what's called a turnout, our first position, and a little bent knee.
Yeah.
Out for 2.
That's what I did for the last episode
And back
of Pilates.
for 2, okay.
On that thing.
And out, and back, and then we go singles, out, and back. And reach, and back, good, perfect. Lift your chin up for me a little bit, good, and relax your shoulders down. There you go, perfect. Out, and reach, good. Now out 1, back 3. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Out and back and back and back. Good. And reach and pull and pull and pull. Good. And I really want you to think about like somebody pushing the bar away from you as you fight to bring it back. So we create our own resistance there. Back, back, and that can be a smooth movement. So we're out, back, back, back. Perfect. Good. Last time, hold it here. The 90-degree angle goes up, 2, 3, 4, good, and then down, and down, and down, good, perfect, up, 2, 3, 4, good, and down,
oh, my shoulders.
And now we're gonna do 2s, up for 2, and down for 2, and up for 2, and down for 2, singles, lift, down, and we just try to control it as much as possible, good, up, and down, and up, good, 4 more here, we go 4, good, 3, and 2, and hold the arm up, and then just pulse it up here, little lift, and see how the arms have started to, there you go, I want 11s, so walk those wrists out, walk the hands out a little bit more, so there's no slack in the band, pulse, there you go, good, press, we're almost done with this, good, let's go 8, lift, and last 4, 3, 2, and release it down, nice job, good, roll that out, So we're gonna open the arms just a little. So we go out for 2 and then come back in, but don't let the band get slack. Out and down and come back in. Good. So we go out and down and come back in. Good. And out and down and come back in, and singles. Good. Out and in and out and in. Good. Out. So we're firing lats, right? Firing the triceps. Take it out and down and out. Good. And out and out. And now we're going to pulse it out. Pulse, pulse, pulse. There you go. Good. We feel the triceps?
Oh, I feel everything.
Keep the neck long, keep the neck long. Drop those shoulders. Good. Perfect. Nice. Look at you. Good. And not dropping the butt, right? But bending the elbows. We start slow. Down for 2 and back for 2. And down. Good. And back. I'll come up so you can see me. Now singles. Down and lift and down and lift. Good. Perfect. Down. Take one leg up. Take it down and lift and down and lift. Good. Perfect. And now start to pulse the elbows. So we pulse. Pulse. Extend that right leg up in the air. Good. Pulse. Pulse. Switch it up. Switch it up. Left leg comes to a tabletop. Good. Extend it up in the air. Good. We just got a few more here. Put that foot down. Keep pulsing. Pulse. Down.
Oh my gosh.
Down.
It's funny how these simple things could be
I
so
know,
intense.
right? I know. It's crazy. Perfect. Good. So right foot is just inside the knee. And and then the right knee is pointing at your face. So yours is open a little bit. I just want it pointed directly at like your nose. So we're gonna start to push through the heel, up for 2 counts, and down for 2 through that left heel. Up for 2, head stays down, and down for 2. Good. And we're kind of articulating, and then come back down like we just did. So we think tailbone first, and then tailbone last. So we drive through the left heel to lift yourself up. Bend, straight, pulse for 2. And again, we're driving into the left heel to lift the body, not lifting through the core, right? Drive through that left heel and take it down and up and pulse for 2. Last time, down and up. Okay, now we're gonna lower that right leg down for 2 counts and up for 2. Just until the knees next to each other. Okay. And up for 2. You got this, Castellanos. Down for 2. Up for 2. Come on, man. Showdown. Coulter and Castellanos. All right. Okay. Get a stretch.
Oh.
So grab under your right hamstring and pull yourself in. You feel that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, now we're just going to get to the other side.
Yeah, all my daddy issues growing up, my mom told me, she's like, you were always hooked to all your coaches growing up.
Okay, then I won't do it.
No, that's why it's funny, because I'm like, okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, well, okay.
Working.
Am I doing good? That's why I'm saying it feels weird, because I remember that feeling of like, how am I doing, coach? You're doing good. Okay.
Okay, so feet down. Let's do the other side. Try that. So come down and then lift. Woo! And then go up. And down, lift. Come back up, pulse for 8, and we're done. Lift. Ah! That hurts me too. Last 4, 3, 2, come down. All right, right ankle to left knee, pull everything in. We're almost done. Abs, and then we're done. Cross your right ankle over your left. And then I want you to notice, see how your rib cage is splayed a little? Do this with your hands. It looks like a rib cage, right? I want you to put them on the rib cage, your hands, and then lift up through the heart towards like the top of the mirror and bring the ribs together so the hands come a little bit closer. Good. That's a closed rib cage. Hands back behind the head. We're going to leave a closed rib. So come up. We start with a closed rib. So lift the chin a touch. Good. But we start with that closed rib.
And do I lean back?
No, we're going to go up. So this is the starting point,
okay.
And then we take it up just a little bit. Let's go up for 2 and down for 2. Good. And we just don't let the rib cage open. And the gaze is at like a 45, so it's not at the ceiling, it's not at your body.
Okay.
Like if somebody came to the bottom of your mat to ask you something. Now singles, lift and down, lift, down. Good. And try not to pull on your head. Hands are relaxed. Good. Lift and down, lift, open the elbows a little bit. Lift, good. Lift, and now pulse it up here. Pulse, pulse. Good, nice. As we pulse, take that left leg to a bent knee. Lift, good. We keep pulsing. So we're gonna slow it down to that 2 count again and bring the right knee up to tabletop and down. So we're up for 2 and down, good. And up for 2, perfect. and out. And again, we think bottom rib down towards the hip bones and out. Now singles, lift and out and lift and out. Good. Lift and lift. 4 more here. Get 4 and 3 and 2. Now that straight leg to the ceiling, slow it down again. Up for 2 and down for 2. We're almost done. We're almost done. Up for 2 and down for 2. 2 more slow. Up for 2 and down and up and down. Now 8 singles. Take it up and down. Lift. Good. Relax your neck. Lift. Good. 4 more and then we're done. We go 4 and 3 and 2. Hold the leg up. Pulse just the upper body up. Pulse 8. Lift. 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 Last 4, 3, 2. Come down.
Oh.
Big stretch.
Oh.
Big stretch. You can let the arms and the legs go in opposite directions. Good. Okay, good. Come off the ball. We're going to stay right here and get a cool down. And then go ahead and come to a flat back. Step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. So we step out into a big lunge to get that hip flexor. Good. Right hand comes down towards the ground. Left arm reaches forward and up. Good. You feel that in the front of the hip flexor? Tight. That's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to do. Good.
Oh.
Sweep that arm back and down. Send the hips straight back. Flexing the right foot. Heart comes down to the right knee. You need to stretch, my friend.
I know.
Shoulders up and back and down. Heels touching, toes open. Big inhale up. And then exhale, release the arms down.
Yes.
Good job, man. How you feel?
Feel great.
I never wear makeup on the bottom part of my eyes, and I got mascara everywhere, I feel like. Come on, come on, come on, come on. So that was spin and bar, man.
Okay, add that to my list now.
Yeah.
All right, so where we left off now, if we hear right, so he calls you,
yeah,
right? You're kind of at this crossroads of, do I give him the money? Do I not give him the money, right? Nate gave you some sound advice, right? So you did. And you said you kind of accepted I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah.
But you get a call, and apparently he's down the street at a gas station, right? Because his ex is chasing him and the government's after him, right? So you find that out. So you have to, obviously save his life. So you bring him to your house, and 4 months he's in psychosis, right?
Longer.
Or longer, right?
Yeah.
It's just
5, 6
long time,
months,
which is again, like, for people that don't know, right? That's not normal.
No,
when you
it's
get
not
sober,
normal.
like it just usually doesn't last so long.
Normal. I was really concerned. I thought his brain was forever altered.
Like that, right? Which could happen.
And he was scared too.
Yeah.
Which also broke my heart for him.
That's like a really sad thing.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
And he had lost this amazing job.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still brokenhearted about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to become an assistant super at a really big construction company like that without some sort of connection, which he did have.
And then that happens.
Yes. And so, I mean, that's something that he did get back into the field, right? He was at that job, the lady that had reached out to me, he was at that job for a little while. But he started feeling like he really wanted to get back into the field, and so he went back to the company he'd been at before. He was with them for 5 years, Lusardi, and they, he did a great job there. So they brought him back, and he's still there now. And it's just really difficult, though, to move back up through the rank. You know what I mean? Like, he started where he left, but he had gone much higher when he got recruited. So, but yeah, to watch him struggle like that mentally, he was also just he barely spoke. I mean, he didn't talk to me for 4 months, 5 months. He barely spoke.
Like when you first got there, right? Okay.
Yeah, he barely spoke. And I'm a talkative person.
Yeah.
And that's a really big part of relationship and intimacy to me, is to be able to connect. And he's never been as much of a talker as I am. I always knew that. But when I need him to, he certainly can. And also, when we were first dating, I remember talking to my mom about it, and she was like, well, you can't get everything from one person. So you can get talking with your girlfriends, whatever, and whatever from him. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But this was no talking.
Yeah,
No, none.
Yeah.
And I remember calling my sponsor, and I was like, did I ever talk to this fucking guy? Do we have anything in common? Did I talk to him? And Rachel was like, Jeannine, you told me every day during COVID that the only way you were getting through that was because of Skylar and him being there for you. Yes, you talk to him. You talk to him all the time. That's another reason why it's good to have somebody like that that's that supportive, because I literally couldn't even remember. But he slowly got better. And at probably like the 3 or 4 month range, maybe sooner, you know, he came upstairs and we were like, okay, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna stay together. And what I did say, though, was there were a couple of things that had to happen. So we've got Life 360 on the phone.
So what is that?
It's like a tracker,
okay,
a location thing where we can both see each other, which I actually kind of want for me anyways, for safety. You know what I mean? Like I used to run hill sprints up here and it would be so foggy up there. And I'd be like, dude, keep an eye on the tracker. If I suddenly like take off in a white van, you need to come get me, you know? So like I kind of wanted the tracker on for me anyways, but for him, and we had the tracker on before, but he would fucking shut it off or turn his phone off. And I'm like, no funny shit, because, and he would say, oh, it must be glitching. And that was one of those things that I would be like, is it? Am I just being a bitch? You know? Yeah. But like, I'm like, if it better not ever glitch. We'll just say that. I know that thing doesn't glitch. Tracker goes on the phone. I wanted to get on the Vivitrol shot, because he does very well in the Vivitrol shot. And no access to the bank account for some period of time.
And how do you make that happen?
So basically, he just doesn't have any logins or anything. You know, and for a long time, his name wasn't even on the account. But then when he switched jobs, we actually, when I think about it, shouldn't have been able to do that, because he was getting direct deposit to just only my account. And then finally, after a while, the bank called and said, hey, this guy needs to be on the account. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, but by then he had like 9 months or something. So we put and then he still wasn't logged in or anything. And then very recently, at any point in time, he could have logged in. And then recently something came up and I was like, dude, just log in. And it's like we had forgotten that was even a thing. And he was like, oh, right, yeah. So, and then obviously I wanted him to get back involved with 12-step, you know, get a sponsor, go to meetings. And one of the things that we did that I think was helpful, he would go to a meeting by himself on one night a week. And it was kind of like it wasn't actually a men's meeting, but it was mostly men that went there. And he started going to that by himself, and I never went with him. And I wanted that to be his space where he could like share, you know? And I did the first couple of times he went, I made him send me a selfie with the sponsor, because he would claim to be out with a sponsor and it wouldn't be them. You know what I mean? Or he'd take he wouldn't, it was just a bunch of bullshit. And he did do that. He took the picture. And I'm grateful to his sponsor for that, because he started to kind of like be whatever about it, but his sponsor has relapsed a ton also and is married. And he said his sponsor was like, come on, man, just fucking do it. It's not forever. And they took a picture. That's and that was like the first time he showed willingness on something like that, like concrete evidence, you know, which is why when you pick a sponsor, it's very helpful. Before he was with a guy that was single. And I'm sure he would have said, fuck, that sounds controlling, you know? Yeah. But the married guy was like, dude, you lied to her like a lot. Yeah. It's a picture. Yeah. You should send this.
That's why like I help out guys. Like what I do well is when I'm working with somebody in recovery or life, and they don't cheat on their partner like physically, but maybe it's like a flirtatious thing, you know, they kind of see this thing and then they're like, yeah, now she wants to see my phone. I go, yeah, let her see your phone.
Okay,
why?
Good. I'm glad you said that.
I go, why? I go, because she doesn't trust you and she shouldn't.
Right.
So don't get mad at it.
And it goes away. I never look at his phone now. Yeah. I haven't asked him for a picture. I actually never even looked at his phone then. After that one day, you know, it was obvious he was using. But like, it goes away. I never even check the tracker anymore. Right. But like, the willingness to even let you go in the phone or take a picture is really important. Because it just shows.
Did you have that too? Like kind of like an openness to your friendly here for like anytime he's like, no password, like.
You know what? I didn't even say that. But he probably would have. It's also really obvious when he's using. Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I actually don't think I made that one, but that could be a good one. Yeah. You know, I think it's probably up to each person. You know, like we know Vivitrol works for him. So you need to fucking do that. And I asked him for Vivitrol for 2 years. And I did not think he would stick around for 2 years or get the shot for 2 years. But he did. And he's actually made the choice to continue it on his own too. You know, and after the 2 years.
So he's still on it right now?
Yep. Okay. And after the 2 years, I wanted to tell him to keep doing it. And I talked to my mom about it. And I was like, yeah, but I also want to show him trust. You know, men want to feel trusted. I know that. You know, he did what I asked. And my mom was like, no, it's too serious, blah, blah, blah. And I asked my dad. And my dad said, nope, you need to let it go. And I was like, really? And he was like, yep, you got to trust him to he did what you asked. So I let it go, and on his own, he decided to keep doing it.
So what I'm hearing right now is your boundaries, as we call them, right?
Yeah.
If this is gonna work. Tracker, right? So I can see where you're at for obvious reasons. 2, get back into recovery for obvious reasons, right? Like you said, pictures, just prove it, right?
Yeah.
Simple, just picture your sponsor, that you're really with your sponsor.
Right.
Cool. Don't have access to the bank accounts because of what happened, right? Get the Vivitrol,
Yes.
right? So he's doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and he's doing all these things. Was there anything else that I missed that you asked him to do?
No,
okay,
those were like the hard lines.
And so for you, someone might ask, a lot of times people always ask, well, how long is it gonna take? Right? And my answer is, as long as it's gonna take as long as it needs to.
Yeah.
Right? You can't really put a time frame after 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever. So he's doing what you're asking for. What are you doing on your end? What's your part that, if someone says, if let's say you saw a couples therapist, you do this, but Jeannine, you gotta do this. What were you doing?
I didn't try to control his recovery. Like, I never asked. I used to say, did you call your sponsor? What did you guys talk about? I would say that before. I didn't. I would ask him, I would just ask more questions before, like asking for specifics and details. And I didn't do that this time. And a lot of it was because I had gotten to a point where I had accepted this other like new life that I could picture.
Right.
And so I was kind of like, okay, hopefully he does it. You know what I mean? But like, I got to a place where I was okay being alone again. Yeah. So I didn't feel the need to control it because, again, I tried to break away from being so dependent on him. I fixed my own credit, you know.
All that stuff, yeah.
And then I also started, there were a lot of ways that as a wife, I feel like I had let him down. Like, the house was always a fucking mess. I wasn't as helpful as I could have been with things in the partnership domestically. He did everything. And I was like, I've got to show up again, and the studio had taken so much out of me that I wasn't showing up anymore in any real way that would make our house more comfortable. You know what I mean? And I was like, I need to also stop at the grocery store. Even when he was using, he was the one doing all that stuff still, taking the trash out, everything. And so I tried to help more. And I asked him too, like, is there anything you want me to do that would help you? And he did say, he was like, I would love if you would also get groceries more often. And I was like, okay, like I can do that, And then, just letting him kind of take care of his own recovery. And I tried not to ever really question him. Even if I was concerned about something, I would only ask him if it really got bad, like if I was really anxious. And that's still something that we kind of argue about, like it's still not easy for me to say. And also, and he would drug test any time I asked. Okay, that was one of them too. But drug tests are also expensive. And so it's like, I don't even want to get to that point. It's fucking $50, like let's just not even get there. But I didn't really hammer him. Even if I thought maybe something was weird, I let it go. And I figured if he's using, it's going to be obvious soon.
And how'd you let it go? How'd you
let it go? Like not bring it up.
Like what would you do though? Like how would you digest it? Would you kind of like talk with your sponsor about it? Voice it out? Okay, you did that before.
Definitely
like a sounding board. Then like, okay, I got it out with you. I'm not gonna, okay.
Yeah,
cool, okay.
Definitely sponsor. Or even sometimes like my own cognitive, talking back to myself, awareness.
Playing the tape out, listen to yourself.
Well, or of like, if he's gonna, me asking does nothing, he's gonna lie if he used. Right. He's going to lie. So all that's gonna happen is eventually it's gonna be clear whether or not he got high, And so just knowing that, I kind of let it go,
Well, now let me ask you this. A lot of times I've seen it happen where when something like that happens, the person on your end of this part, right? Another challenging part too can be like allowing yourself now to get back to that vulnerable place with them again. Like I'm gonna open up my heart again, drop my defenses down again. Sometimes that can be difficult, right? Because you're kind of, okay, how did you kind of get to a place of allowing yourself to get back to that place of being fully vulnerable? Because you can't always be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Yeah. Right? At the end of the day, right? The goal is to not be like that. How did you get to that place of fully allow yourself to just be available like that again?
So honestly, even when he was using, like I remember I went to this, we had one last studio party after we closed, and it was just real shitty. And I left and I was really upset. And he had gone to Mexico. And when I got home, he was back. And I told him what had happened with the girls. And he was so available and present. He talked me through it. He was still able to do that sometimes as it was happening. And so I don't know that I ever stopped being vulnerable in terms of what I can share, like emotionally, or what's going on with me. I think I was always able to do that. I will say though, that with intimacy, obviously that was really hard. We weren't intimate for like a year and a half or something. And so that was hard. That was hard. That I just worked, like we just had to start being intimate again and find that physical connection again. We just, had to do it again. And so that was probably the harder part for me. But the vulnerability, I think because he was such a kind man and such a good husband, I feel like I was able to give that again relatively early. But sometimes I'll even just say, I'll be like, look, I need you to respond to me right now. Like I really need you to meet me where I'm at. And he will. I don't know if that's a great answer. It's also still probably a little bit of a work in progress, but I've always been able to trust him to show up for me when it matters, always. Like, even when he was using, I felt like he was still a better husband than most. You know what I mean? Like, if I needed him right now to bring something to it, he would right this second. If I called him, he had to go back into work and stop all the floods from happening at work. He's exhausted. If I called him right now and was like, hey, Fausto's battery just died. We're almost done. Can you please bring us a charger? Even if he was annoyed, he'd be here in 5 minutes with a charger, and that part of him actually never went away. And I feel very lucky for that. And so I feel like, and we've been together for a long time, 8 years. We've been through a lot. And so that side of things, I don't think it was that hard for me to return to,
What about forgiveness in this aspect, right? I feel like his is, I got to gain her trust and you got to let it go, forgive.
So the way that I was able to do that, because I was really angry about the money, right? Because my whole money stuff.
Yeah.
And we had a little nest egg after we sold the studio, and it was gone. And I was really angry. But I had to take accountability for the fact that, for one thing, I don't always spend money perfectly. Like I'll get Botox and all sorts of stupid shit, so there's that. But also, I took the money out. He'd only got a couple grand of it, and I pulled it all out. I chose to spend every last dollar keeping our life together in the hopes that he would recover. I could have that second kicked him out, or me move out, try to take Tank somewhere and move out and keep that money and go rent a room for $800 a month. And I chose not to do that. I'm the one that spent that money. And so for me, the path to forgiveness, usually with anyone, comes through accountability of my end.
Yeah, what's your part?
Yes, just like we do in a 4-step in recovery, and that's what I had to come to terms with. Also, I had to get really honest too about the fact that, when we first got together, I really felt like Skylar was too good for me. He was younger. He could have married some 23-year-old that wanted kids. You know what I mean? He didn't have to be with me. And I think I always felt like the only way that I was like good enough for him was if he was still struggling in recovery. Because that's the one thing I had.
I know what you mean, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so in those early days, because he, relapsed a couple of times throughout the years, there was a part of me that, of course, I would never want him to, but like, that was my part also, that I felt like that made him dependent on me too, And so acknowledging that I went into this eyes wide open, knowing he still struggled, I knew that. I also knew that when I married him, I knew that this might happen. And I made the commitment to love him no matter what.
Yeah,
because I'm not easy to be married to either. Like I'm a pretty good wife, but like I do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I always say
I'm a fucking mess.
I always say good luck to people that date people like us with ADHD.
Right. Yeah.
We're a lot. We're unpredictable.
Yes.
My girl, I remember we had to go to therapy for it.
Right.
Because she doesn't have it and she didn't understand it. She's like, you don't. Because I'd always say, I'm always there for you. Yeah. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm always like that. She goes, what about me? I go, what? She goes, you're ADHD. What about? She's like, you always are doing something different, unpredictable. I can't. She's like, it gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
And then you just say, but that's just, she's like, you don't understand. Like, I have to adapt to your life.
Right.
She's like, and you never want to adapt to mine. And I go, that's not true. She goes, think about it. And I go, and I'm like, oh man, I'm a lot, huh?
Yeah. And for me, it shows up in just complete disorder. Anytime he's trying to talk to me, I'm in the phone. I'm gone.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not listening.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'll ask him a question. I'll ask him, how was work? Fucking 5 times in a row. Because I didn't hear it yet. Because I was on my phone or whatever.
Yeah, like, what do you think? What? Oh, no, you're not listening. No, I'm listening. No, I was listening. I just want to, I'll lie. I just wanted to say it again, but I zoom.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I'll do that shit too. I'll be like, no, I heard you, but what? I do that too. But that's what I mean. Like being able to find the forgiveness, I think, came through the accountability of my part and the gratitude. I am so, he supports us, fully supports us again. He did it. He did it. Yeah, he did it. I'm really proud of him, and I think also just having compassion for somebody that is an addiction anyways, which I obviously have. I know his background, I know his story, and so I think the compassion piece leads to the forgiveness too, the accountability and compassion.
And what is your guys' relationship like now?
It's really good, I also tell him all the time how proud of him I am, and I recognize, but I've always done that. I feel like I'm pretty good about that. Like anything he does, like when he was redoing the studio, every week or so, I'd be like, honey, I can't believe you're good at that. You're this good at this. You know what I mean? Like, look, you're building me a gym with your bare fucking hands. And he'd be like, I know. But I say that a lot. I tell him often. And
I can tell that by you. I think that's why you're good at an instructor.
You think,
an instructor is great. That's awesome. But you can tell you're not lying. You are stoked.
I'm not.
You are stoked.
Yeah, no,
So
I will never, even when I had my staff, even the ones that I was irritated with, if I say something positive, it's real. You know what I mean? And I can always find something good about every one of those fucking crazy idiots. But yeah, so I say that to him all the time. I've always done that. I tell him that now, and it's really good. He started to come alive more and more and more and more. And I actually feel like he's even got more of a personality than I even saw before. Because this is the longest he's been sober, 2 years. And he's just really funny and we have a great time. There are still things I think that we should probably work on. We should probably even go to therapy again. Just to talk about I wish that we communicated a little bit better, a little bit more openly, but we have a very, think about all the things I do, traveling to fucking Texas, going to New York, all those things with those girls. He's funding that. I mean, I work, but it's mainly him. And he's always go with your friends. I'm so glad you've got these girlfriends. You deserve it. And he's got his whole church life. He goes to church by himself. He's a part of their men's group. He goes to the batting cages. He golfs. I think because we don't have kids, we're able to have a little bit more freedom with each other. If we had kids, we probably couldn't do all that, but we don't. And so we're able to live these areas of our lives that we really enjoy and are almost kind of separate. We go to a meeting together every Saturday night, that's our date night. But I think our relationship is really good now. We trust each other. He just got on Instagram, which I panicked about. I'm fucking RIP my mental health. My favorite thing about him is that he wasn't on social media. And out of nowhere, he's on social media. But another one of my friends, he saw his thing. You know Jimmy Who Am You? You've probably seen him on Instagram. He's a sober comedian guy.
Oh, yeah, I knew him.
He was well. He was at
DopeyCon.
Yeah. He screenshot the Skylar Lindgren follow, and he was like, well. And I was like, dude, don't even get me started. And he was like, what was his reason? And I said, he wants to be able to share his men's group, and they went to the batting cages. And Jimmy was like, okay, that's the most innocent reason I've ever heard for a man wanting to get on Instagram. And I'm like, I know. But I think we have a really good relationship,
Yeah, I think sometimes in life, conflict, they say, deepens intimacy, right? Conflict's not bad.
Yeah.
It's how you go about it, right? But I think when you have these moments as a couple, as these hard seasons.
Hard moments, hard seasons.
But if you can get through it, what it does for the relationship, it's beautiful, right? Because then you can look back and, like you said, we've been through a lot.
We've been through a lot.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
That's my person. That's my, you know what I mean? And it helps you grow and stuff like that. Like you said, we only act the way that we act because of what we've been through.
Yes.
Right? What we've experienced, right? And addiction is terrible. once we're high, like there's no logic anymore. And
Right.
it's not personal what we're doing.
Right.
It got us.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful that your story has the good ending, right? The good
Yeah.
ending, because it's not always like that.
It's not always like that. In fact, it's usually not like that,
Which
to be
is-
honest.
yeah.
Well, actually, I guess I don't know the stats on
Right.
that, but
we hear more of the sadness, I think.
where they disappear and
yeah,
they're gone,
and they're gone.
and I'm proud of him and I'm happy that he came back. And
So let me ask you this. What would you say to somebody that's in this situation right now where they're currently, let's say, whether you're talking to the woman, you're talking to the man, their partner's relapse right now and they're in their sickness, what kind of wisdom would you want to give them today that they can start practicing for themselves? Their partner's out there, they don't know, but they need help. What do I do today?
it sounds cliche, it's annoying, but just taking care of yourself and what's right in front of you has to be what's important. And I would recommend, if you can, kind of do what I did, worst case scenario, they don't come back. You, 2 years from now, when you say, yeah, but you know what, like this ended up happening from that, blah, 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 blah. Like we can always pick out the good things that came out of something. Well, all of us can. You know, you got some awful divorce, but you got this great job because you moved when you were brokenhearted, right? Like we
Yeah.
always have something that, what do you think you'd say then? And then start to make that your reality now. Like me becoming a little bit more financially independent. I was like, well, maybe I would say that. Okay, let's do that. You know, take care of yourself as much as you can. And I also recommend Al-Anon, which I actually didn't go to. I went to like one. I think Al-Anon is really helpful too, but I know a lot about it, right? And had this gone on, I probably would have gone. I think Al-Anon is really helpful too, because they're going to give you the tools to release that codependency, and you'll be surrounded by people that really know how to do this.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid, if they do come back, don't be afraid to ask for the boundaries that are going to make you comfortable. And if they're not willing to do those, like if he had said no to any one of those, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
No. And like, I almost would feel bad asking for that kind of stuff. And I think maybe as women too, I'm like, well, I don't want to overstep. But it's like, dude, this motherfucker burned our life down.
Yeah.
You can put an app on your phone.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Follow him if you need to.
yeah, get the fuck, you know. So it's like, take care of yourself. That, you know, worst case scenario, they don't come back. What would you say about that later? And be the best version of yourself today that you can, on the chance that it does end up just only being you, you know? And I've had 2 boyfriends in the past that did leave forever, and I ended up with the right guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it might be that they don't come back, but I can assure you there's something better.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's like you said, right? Acceptance is the answer to it all. Whether it works or not, find acceptance in it, because if it works, amazing. If it doesn't,
Right.
there's something else. That's just the
Totally.
reality. It may not feel like that when you're in it, right? Because our mind will always play tricks on us. I can never find someone like that again. I'll never
Yes.
this, whatever. That's based on our own self, how we view ourselves.
Right.
My final question too, before we end this, if you know this, maybe you do know, or maybe you have an idea of what you know. What should they not do in that situation? What are some things like, don't do this? You know, some people always say, like, for one, the quickest way to get over someone is to get under someone. I'm always like, that's the stupidest advice.
That's
the
horrible.
dumbest.
That's horrible advice. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say try not to tie your worth and self-esteem to the relationship. It's possible that that's what's happening. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the component of becoming your best self too, so that you are able to not connect that. You know, it was hard for me to have good self-esteem when nothing was in my name and I had a 400 credit score. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, so, but releasing the idea that my self-worth was connected to that marriage, I would say try to do that, because that's probably why you're holding on to it so much. And you know, maybe for the kids and stuff too. Thank God I didn't have to deal with that aspect of things. But I would say try to release the idea that who you are is in this label of the relationship.
I love that. Yeah, I think when you need something, That's where the battle comes. Well, if you need that person or that thing, that's why
Right.
letting go of it's harder.
Yes.
It's harder for you. Why? Because your worth, your sense of esteem,
Right.
whether it's kids, whether it's codependency, whether it's money, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So once you can give that to yourself, it's a lot easier to kind of like navigate
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I love that. Well, I appreciate you running me through
I
the classes
appreciate you,
today.
Fausto.
All the wisdom, the vulnerability, and the humor, and
Let me know if you're sore tomorrow.
I probably won't, but
You won't tell me, or you won't be?
no, I'll tell you. I probably won't be
Okay,
though.
okay,
I don't really
all
get
right.
sore. Surprisingly,
Okay,
I don't really get sore.
Okay, maybe it's all the peptides.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out
Peptides,
Alchemy.
Right? Link right here. If you're going through a breakup, I just want to let you know, if your person's relapse or going through a hard time,
NAD, the
NAD
glow
is what
stack.
really got her through everything, right? That's the secret. But I appreciate you just, being who you are, being vulnerable. You do so many incredible things, from your podcasting, giving people hope on the Chasing Heroin, to speaking wherever you go, to your funny posts and stuff that you do online and stuff like that. Where can people, reach you? Where can people check you out? What do you got going on?
Yeah, just my first and last name across all platforms, just Jeannine Coulter. That's my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube, everything is under Jeannine Coulter. All my stuff is there. And then the podcast obviously is Chasing Heroin, heroin with an E, because I found my inner heroine through the struggle of my addiction, which, by the way, that is also how I was able to navigate this. I knew that something horrific could turn into something beautiful, that the challenge wouldn't be the end of me. And that's kind of when I was like, dude, put your fucking money where your mouth is. You've been saying this for years. You've been saying that thing that you think is going to break you doesn't have to. It might be your turn. I guess you got another story to tell. And that was because of my addiction that I knew that. So that's where the Chasing Heroin with an E comes from. But yeah, Jeannine Coulter and Chasing Heroin.
I love that. And what about people wanting to do a cycle class with you? Where do they go?
Cycle Bar in San Elijo Hills. So there are cycle bars everywhere.
Yeah.
But Cycle Bar San Elijo Hills is this one. And I think our Instagram is Cycle Bar SEH, I'm not sure. But if you go to my Instagram, it says in the bio, like GM at
Gotcha.
whatever. Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you again for today.
Thanks, Fausto. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
Of course. Boom.
You did it.
Good.
Congratulations.
You got through it. Dude, Skylar's probably like, where the fuck is she?
In today's episode, we learned through Jeannine's story what it's like when your loved one relapses and the struggles that occur by the fear of, are they ever going to get sober again? Through acceptance, through prayer, through love, and through God, we got to see two people come together and rebuild their relationship. And now it may have not been easy, but it is possible. So for anyone listening that is struggling today, I hope that you can take something from this to not give up, but to also walk in acceptance, because you never know what can happen, but anything is possible. And so thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Vulnerable Reps podcast. I'll see you on the next one.